At the state qualifier for speech and debate sophomore year, I was doing impromptu speaking and I received the topic of Thomas Jefferson. And I kid you not, I gave the greatest speech you could have ever imagined on the wrong Thomas. I thought Thomas Jefferson was Thomas Edison. And I spoke about the light bulb when I really should have been talking about the Declaration of Independence. And while it was very embarrassing to me that day, I learned how important it is to take in every small thing into account. Because sometimes the smallest things can determine how successful you will be. And that transitioned to me in today's quotation. Success is the sum of small efforts repeated day in and day out. To me, this quotation means that sometimes when it comes to achieving success, the smallest things, whether that's small effort, a small item, or even a small detail, day in and day out, influence our outcomes. And today, let's look at how important it is to take in every little thing possible, because the little things can be the ones that decide if we're successful or if we fail. And we'll talk about how this is true through the examples of Operation Tootsie Drop, Edwin Hubble, and Carly Nunez. Now, when it comes to Halloween, I love Tootsie Rolls, and I think you do too. I mean, while the chocolate seems pretty hard, it's pretty sweet nonetheless. And the Americans back in 1950 realized how sweet this was in a war called Operation Tootsie Drop. You see, the Americans were fighting North Korea, but unfortunately, they ran out of ammunition. And so they called for ammunition that was nicknamed Tootsie Rolls. But like me misconcepting Thomas Jefferson, the Americans misconcepted this name for the chocolate Tootsie Rolls. The US Marines were flabbergasted to have a box of chocolate being thrown at them. And I think we would be too, as how in the world would we ever use chocolate to win a gunfight? But the Americans paid attention to detail, and their small efforts to look deeper in these Tootsie Rolls made a big change towards their success. They found out that these Tootsie Rolls could be melted down into taffy and glued onto the broken holes in their vehicles. Thanks to this, their vehicles were working once again, and the Americans were able to use their fixed vehicles to evacuate thousands of wounded soldiers. It was from their ability to pay attention in Tootsie Rolls, where that effort allowed thousands of lives to be saved again. And I think we can all call that a pretty sweet victory. Now, a lot of us here perhaps love astronomy. I think we all have our notifications turned on for NASA when they find the next alien using the Edwin Hubble telescope. But on the note of the Edwin Hubble telescope, the man behind that, named Edwin Hubble, had a very remarkable journey of paying attention to details. Because when Edwin Hubble was studying space, he made sure to slow down. And every single planet he studied, he would make sure to put as much effort as possible. He wasn't going to overlook a single detail, even the detail of how often the stars dimmed. And at one point, one of those details revolutionized space, because he found that some of these stars dimmed faster than normal stars. And he studied them with mathematical equations and realized they stretched way beyond our own galaxy. This led him to the hypothesis that these stars were part of an entirely different galaxy. And this gave everyone on Earth the idea that our galaxy, the Milky Way, isn't alone. But sometimes the smallest things can have a very detrimental effect if we don't take into them an account. And that's what we can see through a clerk named Carly Nunez, who worked in a store in Louisville. Carly Nunez sold a lot of lottery tickets, but when a customer left the lottery ticket on her counter, she did something very malicious. She stole the lottery ticket and used it for herself. Luckily to her, she ended up winning $3 million with that lottery ticket. And so she, along with her boyfriend, drove to the lottery headquarters in Massachusetts to pick up their prize. But in the lobby of the headquarters, they were arguing how they would split the money. And unfortunately, that argument was caught on camera and now led to an investigation that has Carly Nunez in prison. Had Carly Nunez paid attention to the small thing of where she was arguing, she might have realized that those arguments are better placed in the parking lot rather than a lobby where cameras are always looking at you. And so when we return to today's quotation, success is the sum of small efforts repeated day in and day out. We can see that the smallest things, whether it be Tootsie Rolls, a detail in space, or even a lottery ticket, can all have significant effects on what we do. Which is why if you're pursuing something, don't overlook anything that seems small, because those things can really help you declare independence from embarrassment. Thank you.